What's good everyone, BBK Dragoon here, and I decided to be a little bit crazy and import a Japanese-only Monster Hunter title, Double Cross, for the Switch a few weeks ago to test out and see if it was something worth picking up, something fun, and something I could recommend to you guys. I know you're loving Monster Hunter World right now, just like me, but if you're wanting to try out some of the other Monster Hunter titles in the franchise, what better way to start than with the latest version, right? Or so I thought. Now, Monster Hunter Generations is the most current release of Monster Hunter previous to World in the United States. I know there's a lot of caveats in that little sentence there. So Generations came out a few years ago on the 3DS, and it came out both in Japan and in the US with an English patch. Then Double Cross came out a year later, last spring in Japan for the 3DS and last fall in Japan for the Switch version of the game. Double Cross is essentially the ultimate edition of Generations. If you're new to the franchise with Monster Hunter, what they do is they release the standalone game like Monster Hunter 4, and then a year later, they bring out the ultimate version, which brings with it G-Rank, new gear, some new monsters. It's like a giant title update version of the game with some more content. Generations and Double Cross, that's kind of the parallel right there. Generations being the standalone release, and Double Cross being kind of the G-Rank ultimate edition of the game. However, Double Cross never got a US release. It does not have an English localization option available to play officially currently. So with that said, how hard could it be to play this game? I dove into this one head first, but let's talk about the performance before getting a little bit deeper. The Switch really makes this game shine. It looks very pretty. I should note the Switch is entirely region free, so that's a big reason why I decided to import the game. You can get it on Amazon for about $60 here in the US. On the 3DS, Double Cross runs at 240p, 480 by 240 at 30 FPS. There are some frame pacing issues, but frankly, it's one of the best looking and most technically demanding titles on the 3DS. For the Switch, in docked mode, you get a full native 1920 by 1080p with this great new post-processing anti-aliasing on top of it, new and updated textures. In the portable mode, it runs at 720p, but keeps those great post-processing effects going. It looks great. It still runs at 30 FPS, unfortunately. I was really hopeful that it would run at 60, especially since Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on the 3DS ran at 60 FPS. So how hard is it to play this game in Japanese? Well, something to know up front, Generations has been dubbed a more complicated Monster Hunter than that of Monster Hunter 4. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate really did a great job of bringing in new players, the experience much more akin to what you had in Monster Hunter World, if you guys have played World just yet. It has a story, it eases you into hunts, and it doesn't have a whole lot of gathering quests. Whereas Generations, or Double Cross, has a ton of gathering quests when you first start out. And with that said, Generations is a very menu-heavy game. From the Palico system, which is very complicated, to the actual quest system, you're going to be engaging with a lot of Japanese text on a regular basis, and there's not a ton of visual cues to indicate what you need to do within the quests. Now, I know it sounds silly, dude, you got a Japanese game, what do you expect? You got to put some work into it. Is it playable? Absolutely. There are some great fans who've done some cool translations of the menus that you can find online. I'll leave some of those resources in the description below, but do know if you decide to import the game, you're going to have to be relying on these translated menu pictures a lot. There's tons of quests in Double Cross that aren't mandatory for the story to progress, and there are just a handful of key quests that you want to focus on if you want to power through the story as fast as possible. Something to note as well. For Double Cross on the 3DS, if you have a soft modded 3DS, you can install a fan translation for an English version of the game. That is not a bad way to go if you have a soft modded 3DS. I won't be talking about how to do that in this video, but for the Switch, as far as I know at this time, I don't believe there is a way to do a similar thing. So who is this game right for if you were to import it? You have to be a player who's already familiar with Monster Hunter, in my opinion. And you also need to be willing to put in quite a bit of work. It's not going to be super intuitive, and it will not be as accessible of an experience that Monster Hunter World was. So if you are willing to put in the work reading guides, speaking to people on the Monster Hunter Discord, because there is a community of Western players playing Double Cross, and if you're willing to watch some of the few guides on YouTube that talk about what the different images mean and how the different sub-menus work, then you may very well enjoy Double Cross. However, if you're just looking for a relaxing, kickback, easy hunting game, I don't think it's worth importing Double Cross. For me personally, I'm glad I did. It looks great. I will play it from time to time, but I find it frustrating to have to continually rely on exterior resources, which I knew about before going in, but it is not a super easy experience. It's not like playing World in Japanese at all. Much more complicated Monster Hunter game. So that's my 2 cents on if it's worthwhile importing Monster Hunter Double Cross for the Switch. Game looks great. Capcom, please bring out an English patch to this game. I would adore it. I think a lot of your fan base is looking forward to some more Monster Hunter stuff, and I don't think it would cost you a whole lot of resources to implement that. So I want to say thank you, viewers, for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please thumbs the video up, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe for more. We have Destiny, Warframe, maybe some Rainbow Six Siege, and more Monster Hunter World coming down the pipeline very soon. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk with you again in the near future.